Hello, part 31, and welcome back, of course. Yeah, another one where I've managed three videos in a day, so yeah, we're rolling now. This time I thought I'd just do a piece that's it's not exactly sidetrack, it's maybe just going off on a tangent on things that do remain relevant to the Amityville horror, but kind of let's just look at a few other things and kind of giving you my views on certain aspects of different paranormal cases that we do come across, but perhaps on a regular basis if you're very into these kind of things like I am. Now, what I'm going to say is that I personally, and this is just my view, feel that sometimes demons are brought into the equation a bit too freely and a bit too quickly. That is just my finding. That we do see a lot of these shows. We see them on different cable channels, Sky channels. Um, there are kind of somebody telling their story. Sometimes it's like actors doing a reconstruction, a reenactment, and it's so often the case that it's like, oh, your house isn't just haunted, this is demons. And I sometimes feel, well, is it, are we bringing the D word into something a bit too quickly when we could just be talking about spirits, you know bad spirits that are kind of aggressive or playful or vengeful in some way, that are causing a lot of problems and issues, disturbances, frights, etc. I mean, I'm not going to dismiss that it's all wrong. I'm not going to say that for a second. But I mean, of course, as well, the thing is with some of these shows that we see, it's always very questionable as to what is really the truth. Which ones are very heavily, kind of hammed up for entertainment purposes, which ones, some are maybe even just completely fabricated, just to give us, some entertaining viewing. We never quite know. But I do find that, as I say, demons do come into things, a lot more than I feel really they ought to. And sometimes it can be, dependent on who's coming along to try and offer help. And they're the ones saying, yeah, this is demons. Yeah, I mean, it's not always, to my view, the most responsible thing to be saying to people because it's very, very frightening. I mean, some people just don't understand it. They don't get it at all. And, it can be a case of, this is it, I'm doomed, for all eternity. And it's a very, very frightening concept to them. And in view of that, I mean, I have got to include the Warrens. I just do, because they have been known to do that. I mean, Ed Warren was known as a qualified demonologist, and it was them who, well, they were certainly one of several who, seemed to suggest that the Amityville horror was a demonic case, not just, a paranormal case involving spirits and poltergeists, and so that they took something to a new level there. And, this is something that, I believe that they did with other cases. I mean, like I say, I don't want to sort of discredit them. I don't want to say, oh, well, they were wrong and they made everything worse, because that's really not what I feel about them. But I mean, it is, kind of what, has happened, not just with them, not just with them at all. I mean, let's look at one other very famous case that I've mentioned before, the Enfield poltergeist, on which The Conjuring Part 2 was based. I mean, The Conjuring Part 2 was practically a work of fiction. Practically all of it was, because we've got this demon involved that appears in the form of the demonic nun that was, pure fabrication. The actual Enfield case was only ever said to have been a poltergeist activity, said to have been the spirit of an aggressive old man who'd occupied the house before and couldn't accept new people living there. He still considered it his home, so there was never any real claims of demons involved in that story. So, I mean, yeah, we've only got The Conjuring 2 that suggests demons were involved. But it's things that do, kind of throw things out there. And next thing we know, something can get very far-fetched. And this is where, things then get open to ridicule. You see what I'm saying here? I mean, it's something that just has to be, thought about very carefully. I mean, so again, we've got to consider, kind of where real stories are coming from and what's really being said, as opposed to what's being written about in novels and being turned into entertaining motion pictures. There are, entertaining, but they're not really telling a true story, because I suppose, it does have to be said there are a lot of these things, like I've said before, they would be terrifying and very disturbing to the people at the time who are going through it. But when you start writing it all down and trying to tell it as a story, it might not translate as anything that's that engaging or that interesting to some people. Think, oh yeah, that bit was good, yeah, oh wow, did that really happen? Yeah. But then beyond that, it's kind of, well, so after that there was a lot of, oh, we had some normal days and not a lot happened for weeks or months, and then, oh, and then something else happened. When it comes to delivering these things, we can see why it has to be changed and, sort of sensationalized sometimes, to really get people's attention and keep them interested. Yeah, but that's, where we really, really do have to separate, what is really being said by someone as opposed to how it's delivered, by the media, by Hollywood, by an author of a book. It's very, very often, quite a different thing, But that doesn't mean that it's not real, and it doesn't mean that it's not scaring the hell out of someone in reality. Yeah, so these are just things to consider here. Yeah, let's just be separating that, Like I say, I'm not against the concept of demons, because, I'm a big believer in all things, and I dare say that, that there are cases, where they are a big part of what disturbs people. But as I say, that there are times, where, we watch these shows. I'm not going to mention the names, but there are a lot of them, they tend to be set in America, most of them. And it just so often seems that, we're seeing quite a few of the same things, like, oh, they've got scratches on them, so it was a demon. Yeah, and so it's like, well, is this real? Are they hamming it up? Are they telling the truth? Or is this something that, maybe started off as, kind of a story that, really frightened somebody, but wouldn't have, come across as that fascinating if they just told it as it really was. And did we really need to bring demons into it, when we could have just been talking some aggressive or bad spirits, and kept something, a lot more simple and easy to understand without it all having to become so far-fetched and overly dramatic. Yeah, so again, like I said before, I don't want to come across as a mythbuster or, kind of too skeptical, because I am a believer, but I also believe we have to keep things real. To avoid ridicule, to avoid, kind of being stamped on by skeptics, and, kind of really being sort of, sort of rained on. Yeah, I mean, because it happens all too often when people get carried away with these things. It can be real and it can be terrifying, and sometimes it can just be fascinating. Without having to be incredibly over the top and dramatic. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say for this piece, and the 10 minutes is running out, so I'm going to move on to part 32 very soon. So before the 10 minutes runs out, thank you as always, and many blessings to you.